What's going on, everyone from Overtime Heroics? My name is Dane Podolsky, and I'm joined once again with Mike, the Truth Jackson. He's set to return to the Octagon on October 15th when he takes on Pete Rodriguez. Mike, thank you so much for taking the time.
Man, appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course. And just first off, how'd this fight come together and how has training been going?
Man, training's been going well, and the fight came about, and Sean hit the line. He was like, "Yo, what you think about this?" And I was like, "It looks fun." I feel this is a better matchup for me than the Dean Barry fight, although the D I that was going to be a solid fight for me as well. But stylistically, comparing the two, I think this is a far better matchup for me, stylistically. And so I'll be able to get to show what's been cooking in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. And with the Dean Barry fight, first off, were there any ill effects of your eye after that fight?
No, I actually went and got it checked out immediately when I returned home. Now, for me, that was the biggest concern. I had a hand injury as well, and I kind of like let that just, I feel like I'm just getting older, and so the bones take a little bit more time to recover after punching people in the face. But as far as the eye, it was actually the first thing. I think I got the first available, which was like that Tuesday when I got back home, and everything was clear. It was just, when you're dealing with dirty cheaters, man, I didn't know that that's what I was dealing with until it happened. I never had to deal with that, which is crazy. Coincidentally, today is the 14th anniversary of my MMA debut. And I posted a picture. I posted a thing on my story, but particularly in my very first fight, I got legit poked in the eye. It was legit. It wasn't like intentional eye gouge, right? I remember getting poked in the eye, and it was like it had to have been within the first couple of minutes within the fight, right? So if not the first minute. And I remember getting poked, and all I saw was white. And I was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Don't let this dude hit me because I couldn't. And then I didn't know how long it was going to be white because it's the first time it ever happened. But then it only lasts, it felt like 30 seconds. It was probably only like 5 or 10 seconds or whatever. But then when I finally regained my vision, the dude he's just looking at me like this. And I was like, okay, good. He didn't try to hit me when I couldn't see. But no, man, it was a crazy, just the whole thing, man, was crazy. Given even the build up to it, in the fight, post fight, the next day after the fight, and even some cool shit happened this last week, kind of capping off the whole thing. So it was a really gnarly, weird experience, so to speak.
Do you have any sort of, I guess, animosity towards Dean Barry after that fight?
I mean, nothing. He's just a piece of shit, man. Like I don't like people, and then I know people go, oh, whatever. Like, I'm gonna call out the white fragility in him in that and that's where my issue lied with it, right? It wasn't even the tactics that and again, I get the spinning kick, right? I can put some logic behind that, right? Even the eye gouge, I can put logic behind that, given that he was drowning. He was in too deep, and for him, it was frustration. He didn't know what else to do, and he just gave in to some bullshit with the eye gouge. But even up until that point, I gave him a pass. But then the white fragility came in the next day when he was the one who did the crazy illegal shit. But instead of owning up to his actions, he wanted to place the blame on me and tried to get people to say I quit. Like, no, my dude, you can't in a competitive sporting event, right? This isn't a street fight, right? If it was a street fight, fine. Like, yeah, I quit in a street fight. But this was a competitive sporting event. We're prize fighters, right? And for this, like, first of all, his first two strikes landed in the fight were illegal. He landed two dick kicks before anything else, right? So the second shot came, I was fully compromised. It was equivalent of like someone hitting you with the cleanest body shot and you trying to like recover from that. Like that's what it felt like. It felt like this. I got hit with his most powerful weapon in the dick. You know what I'm saying? And then, but even with that, like I was able to get back from that. But then when I'm getting back up, I'm compromised. He's touching me a little bit more. But again, he's used to getting people out in the first round. You know what I'm saying? He's used to people. His fight before mine, he like thumped the dude and he fell. Like he barely touched the guy and the guy fell into the campus. And this guy hit me with his strongest weapon illegally. I recover. Then he starts touching me a little bit with the right hand after I'm already compromised, but I'm still there. I'm still looking. I'm still and that's where the frustration sets in. You have a fighter who's not ready for that level of competition, whether it be the actual fight, because he's not a good fighter. I'm gonna let you know right now. Being in there with him, Dean Barry is overhyped. He's a trash fighter. He's not good. He's amateur at best, right? When you have someone who's in too deep, so to speak, they just get flustered and frustrated. And he didn't know how to deal with not finishing. And so he had to resort to, he's like, I got to get out of here. And if I'm being honest, you know, I feel, I don't think that he did the eye gouge to like lose the fight. What happens is I felt he did the illegal tactic to further compromise me, right? I'm gonna hit him with this. I hit him with the nut shots. He got back up. I'm gonna hit him with the eye gouge. He gonna get back up. But he was looking forward to me being like really compromised, and he was looking for the easy win. And I was like, there's no way. I'm not gonna give that to you. Given again, I understand the circumstance. Look, if I go back out there, right, fully compromised after 2 dick shots, and then the dude like stuck a fucking knuckle in my eye. If I go back out there and compete, right, and then I just lose, no one says anything. They like, well, fuck, you lost. Like, no one says, oh, you lost, but yeah, you got kicked in the dick twice, and then, you know, the dude tried to eye gouge you. It's all right. No, like, I'm going to take the L, I'm going to get half my check, and then they're going to cut me. Why would I keep fighting? Like, people are weird. But to the point, though, after all of that, he comes back, the dude quit. Fine. If that's how you want to look at it, but that's the white fragility in him because he can't own up to his own mistakes. He did some wild shit, and as opposed to own it, he gonna like deflect on me. And I was like, nah, buddy, can't happen. So to the point, I seen one of his baby moms this week, and she was excited to see the kid. You know what I'm saying? Got all lovey-dovey hugging up on me real quick. You know what I'm saying? Got a couple of selfies. You know what I'm saying? So it was real cool. I enjoyed it. But fuck, Dean Barry's a piece of shit.
You said you saw one of his baby mamas? Is that what you said?
Yes. Yo. So here's a funny thing, right? So I'm out in Invicta, cornering a partner of mine, Brittany Cloudy, on the Invicta card, and I remember, I think I got there like with Monday, and so I'm walking out the front, like the hotel lobby. I'm going to get something to eat, and I'm looking down. And all I hear was, oh, it's Mike Jackson. I hear like a heavy Irish accent. And I turn and look, and they're like, yeah, it is Mike Jackson. I was like, I have no idea who this is. I see a guy, and then I see a chick, right? I was like, oh, okay. They Irish fans, right? So fast forward, maybe, I think it was the next day, which is weigh-in day. And then I'm going into the weigh-in room, and I sit down and it's like, oh, and then I get the Mike Jackson thing again. I was like, oh shit, who are you? And so Shorty says, do you know who I am? And I was like, and it was like she has a very heavy Irish accent, but she was like, I'm Dean Barry's baby mom. Shauna Bennett. I didn't want to mess her name up. She was like, I'm Dean's Barry baby mom. But because her accent was so heavy, I was just like, oh shit. And like it took like a few seconds for my brain to catch up. But when I did, I was like, oh, it was a dope moment. And then she had a teammate there with her, and she was like, yo, I just wish I would have caught that reaction of me. Like it was one of the, it was crazy. I know they didn't expect to see me there. And then I definitely didn't expect. I just thought that was the end of the after Dean Barry, he got cut, and then he goes, I think it was like Titan or somebody, which is crazy, right? I run into Dean at the PI, and we chopped it up a little bit, and we talk about weight, and he's telling me like, yeah, I'm going like to 145, and I'm looking at him like, bro, you are a chunky monkey right now. Like, what are you talking about? And so which if I'm being honest, 45 would have been like, if you look at his stature, like that would have been a proper like weight for him is 40. I feel is 140 at 55 at best, but 45 for sure. And so he goes out there and he can't even make 55. Like he had a horrible weight. I don't know what he did wrong. It's like, yo, you just fought at 170, like 55, because he's not a real 170er. 55 should have been easy, but he messed up his like kidneys. He was in the hospital. But the last thing I heard from him, like, and I said something about him quitting on the scales or some shit like that. And then he responded. He was basically like, "Oh, fuck you, you cunt! Like, I almost died and blah blah blah." And I was amazed, like, "Fuck you and your kidneys, my dude. Like, you don't get to play the sympathy card after you said I quit when you did some cheating shit." You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I thought that was gonna be the last I heard from Dean Barry. And then I run into his baby moms at the fights. So I tell the story, the how come on full circle. So Dean, and he's the one who reached out to me initially to set up the fight. He's in my Instagram DMs and going back and forth. And one of his things he said, he was like, "Yeah, I'm broke. I got a girlfriend. I got like a kid on the way. Like, I really need to fight." And then in the moment, I was like, this is really weird to be telling me this. Like, because I don't care. Like, your life means nothing to me. But okay, whatever. Then I meet Shauna, and I'm telling her the story. I was like, wait, so you the girlfriend and you the baby mama? She was like, yeah, that was me. And if I'm fucking dying because they don't like this motherfucker either. Oh, the guy it was Patty Houlihan who was what I didn't realize. Like, Patty's a 25. I'm like, yo, this is not a 25 anymore. But as we're having a conversation, I realized no one likes fucking Dean Barry because he's just a trash person. To the point, I just want to give my further exclamation on Dean Barry. I know his goal and everything is to be a world champion in the UFC. Dean Barry will never make it back to the UFC. He's a horrible fighter, and he's not worthy of UFC level competition. So that's my Dean Barry story. It comes full circle. Me chopping it up with his baby mom, who don't like that piece of shit anyway, and it was a great story.
And first of all, that's one of the best MMA stories I think I've heard. But I just want to, get the recap. So Dean Barry, 2 spin kicks to the dick.
He had one. It was 2 dick. One was like an inside dick kick. The other one was a spinning dick kick.
Okay, so let's say inside dick kick, spinning dick kick, eye gouge, loses the fight, calls you out. He gets cut from the UFC. He's texting you, talking more trash that he missed weight. And then you meet his baby mama. Am I missing any other details?
Yeah. So that was in April. So what? May, June, July, August, September. Right. So 6 months back. Like the last mess I had for him was 6 months ago, and then or maybe 5, whenever his fight was supposed to be. And then I should have tagged, but I didn't know how she felt about, because I was like, we posted a little story and everything on there. And I almost tagged him because I'm that kind of guy. But I was like, you know what? He'll see it because we took the first selfie was at weigh-ins. And when I saw it, she said, no, you got to come take a selfie. And I was like, fucking okay. And she takes it. And I was like, yo, you got to send that to him. She's like, no, I'm going to send it to him. It was fucking hilarious. But yeah, he's a trash person, man. I don't respect that. Like, he comes from a traditional martial arts background and he acts this way. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. You know what I'm saying? But, it is what it is.
Let me ask you, like, how does the experience you had at Dean Barry compare to, let's say, the experience you had at CM Punk? Because I think both CM Punk, both Dean Barry are guys who are probably not UFC caliber. Right. I don't want to say gadget fights, but they match you up with guys who are either rising prospects or sort of a gadget type.
Well, but that was the thing. Like, to be honest with you, that's kind of like what my shtick is in the UFC anyway, is that they're going to have to match me up with these level of competition, just given my pro MMA experience. I have the pro boxing and kickboxing and Muay Thai experience. I think overall I have 10 pro fights. which I'm like 7-2 overall with 5 knockouts. Yeah. So I'm 7-2 overall, combat sports, 5 knockouts. And so when you look at particularly MMA, I'm 1-1 and I'm 2-1 on paper, 1-1-1. So the commissions have to match you up properly. They're not gonna throw me in there with a dude's like 10-1, you know what I'm saying, or 8-2, whatever. They have to take me. The Dean Berry was initially he was 3-1, then he was 4-1. We got the fight, and then Pete Rodriguez is 4-1. And again, at this level of competition, like, I'm cool with it. Like, I think this is it's cool for me for what I'm doing. My whole motto and mantra in life is for the shits and giggles. I feel this is the right opportunity for me to take advantage of. I'm fully aware of the skills that I possess, what I don't possess, and for the things that I don't possess, I don't really see it as a hindrance at the level of competition I'm at, right? So now, if I'm in fighting dudes for like, 30 paces or just in a whole different sphere, right? Then that's a different conversation. But when I'm fighting 4-1 Dean Berry, 4-1 Pete Rodriguez, I'm perfectly okay with those matchups, and it makes sense.
What would you say about your UFC career? Because you had the quick loss to Mickey Gall, and then dominant win over CM Punk, but a bit of a hated fight, and it's no contest, and then a DQ win. I think a lot of fans will sort of look at your career, and it's a weird career in that the CM Punk fight is kind of a hated fight, and with how much Dana White crapped on that fight afterwards, and then the Dean Berry fight, the clip that went big from that is you screaming spinning kick to the dick after getting spinning kicked to the dick. I think, UFC career, and like, how do you want the fans to see you at this point?
It doesn't matter, dude. Like, again, I'm just here having fun. The people, my peers, here's the crazy thing, right? The only people that really talk shit to me are just casual fans, like casual UFC. They're not even MMA fans, really. They're UFC fans, and there's a difference. But it's generally UFC fans or just fucking white nationalists who talk shit. Like, it's not people who actually matter. Look, man, I've been in this to the point. I had my amateur debut 14 years ago today, right? I've been in the sport I've been fighting 14 years. I've been training consistently for nearly 15 years. I get to travel the country, and I say this all when I'm in Vegas, I go out to Syndicate. If I'm in Denver, I'm in Elevation. I got here my home gym, Main Street, or Heritage Muay Thai with Eves Edwards. I go to Dallas, I'm in Fortis. I just get to travel the country, go dope spots, man. I was just in Virginia Beach and went out to the House of Muay Thai. So I get to go to these different gyms and I get to absorb knowledge from martial artists and people who've been in this longer than me, right? And then I get to tweak it and put it in my game plan and do whatever. To the point, people talk about my fight, right? I don't feel like my coach, Bob. I've been with him out of the 14 years I've been fighting. I've probably been with him 12 of those 14, right? He's coached 2 world title fights. He has a plethora of UFC talent under his tutelage. There's no way, if I wasn't prepared, that he would allow me to enter the cage. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make sense. And also, like, I understand the dangers of this sport. You know what I'm saying? So to the point, the only people who talk shit are casuals who don't matter anyway. And I have the respect of my peers, which, not that really matters, but that's what matters. Not the opinion of some people who don't know shit. So I'm cool with it.
Well, see, I think what I would say, I think a lot of people who might talk shit, I think for the majority of MMA fighters, their goal is to become this world champion. And tell me if I'm wrong. I think for you, you're just there, to get the paycheck, to have fun. You're not necessarily trying to become this world champion.
Correct.
And how do you think that mindset sort of changes it for you as compared to, a lot of other fighters?
Well, my whole thing, I'm an anomaly, right? I'm like a glitch in the matrix of combat sports or MMA. And I'm just the dude. I'm just like the free. I just get to roam around. I'm a free roamer, just doing my thing. I get to again, like if I don't fight again, cool. I'm looking forward to getting a dope win here. I'm gonna take the rest of the year off, and I'm gonna come back next year and do some more cool shit. Or maybe not. Maybe I don't. Y'all don't see me for 5. It was funny. I had a conversation with Sean Shelby, and it was it the Dean Barry fight? I can't remember. Maybe it was before he offered that to me, or we were still. Oh no, it wasn't Dean Barry fight, but we were still trying to get everything pieced together. And I remember he offered me something, but like I had an injury, and he offered me to fight, but I had like an injury. And oh no, this is what it was. They offered me to fight. It was originally in Vegas, but then they came back, moved it to Abu Dhabi. But then I couldn't get. I had visa issues, so then they moved it to Vegas, and then Barry had visa issues because it was right during the lockdown. So they were looking for like outs. They were gonna find me another guy, and I remember them giving me a name. And at the time, I was like, the Dean Barry fight. Again, style make fights. For me at the time, the Dean Barry fight would have been cool. But the other, I can't remember the kid's name. He actually trains out of Denver, Elevation. But he offered me his name, and I was like, man, I'm gonna need a little time for this one. And so I ended up running the shot because then there was a Houston show like shortly after. So I ran into Sean, and I was like, hey man, I don't want you to think like I'm like, he's like, look, man, look, my job is to offer you fights. You can take it or you don't take it. He said, you can fight next time, next year, next week, next year, next month, in 5 years. I don't care. That's all that matters. And I was like, oh shit, okay, cool. Because again, I'm just doing this for the shits and giggles. You know what I'm saying? So I'm doing it when I want to. I'm doing it on my terms. So what I feel like again, this is a great fight for me. I'm gonna show some really cool shit, and then I'm gonna take the rest of the year off after that and do some more cool shit outside the cage.
And so, sort of switching gears, you talk about that Houston connection. Talk to me about your relationship with Derek Lewis, and what is your funniest story with Derek Lewis?
Man, I feel like there's nobody else who's been able to do what I do in this sport. I came through at just. I always say my shit always works sometimes, but it's all about who you know and putting yourself in these right position in the right time. So that actually came through with Mick Maynard. Like he's actually he's the orchestrator of all of this. Which is funny because I don't think it was all intentional or on purpose, but Mick is such a big kid at heart. It makes sense. Like he would be the one to kind of put all this shit. He was the reason for all this shit. Anyways, Mick is doing his shows, and Derek, he and I connected. He was training at a gym called Silverback. When he first got into MMA, that's where he was doing his thing. And I don't even remember how the connection came. But I just became friends with him in the gym and see him at fights. I'm always at fights. And then I got to see his progression from like an amateur. I think he had like one amateur fight. Then he fought like a guy from the WWE. He was like the cheer squad. He fought Nick Mitchell. That was his name. And he had some other like gnarly like kind of fights. And then he starts like because he's known as knockout, the Black Beast, whatever, knockout king, and he's getting like some crazy knockouts. And then he's working his way up the legacy ranks. And then he gets legacy titles and he's doing his thing there. And I remember the call to the UFC. And I remember when he got signed to the UFC is actually when he changed gyms and started training with my coach, Crew Bob Perez over at 4 Ounce at the time. And I was always doing some interviews because he's a funny, like the other thing is like Derek, I remember, okay, here's how it became cool. This is when we got close, right? So you see Derek in person, he's real like just real quiet, got this story look on his face. But then you would see the shit that he was posting on Facebook, and it's like fucking hilarious. Like what? So I remember I was like, yo, like you're not the one posting this shit. Like, who's posting this for you? He was like, no, I'm posting it. I was like, there's no, like, you're not this funny. And he was like, nah, that's me posting it. And like, that was just, because I guess I didn't realize how funny he was. And that was really, the humor was the connection. And then, because he has a very, dry, like me, like I have a very dry sense of humor, but he's just very dry himself. And I was just a fan of it. And then he goes out here and he's knocking people out. He's going through UFC, knocking people out. And he's a knockout king. He's getting records, title fights. And it is just amazing to see the journey. But as far as, let me see, a comical experience, man, there's so many. We was in New York and we took him to like a comic book store. Imagine Derek Lewis in a comic book store. That shit was crazy. And that was around Halloween too. Yeah, actually, I think it was when he fought DC. That was around like a Halloween out there. That was fun. Man, we had some. Was that at Mick's house? No, we did some shit at Mick's house. All right, so a couple years back. All right, this is my favorite one. A couple years back, probably like it may have been last year, if I'm not mistaken. Our coach he likes to throw these like annual parties or whatever. And I forgot what the theme of this party was, but we sit outside and we all, drinking, talking, whatever. And someone, I think Bobby went to like Thailand or Mexico. He went somewhere out the country and he ended up getting like a bottle. It was either vodka or tequila. And it had like was it a scorpion? I don't remember. It had some wild shit in it. Like it was one of the things, like it was like some bugs or reptiles or some shit that was in the bottle. Mm-hmm. And so Derek, we all sitting there and I'm like, I'm not drinking it. And Derek like, I ain't drinking that shit either. But then he was like, I can't remember the denomination, but he was like, I some crazy amount of number. Like it was like $500, 1,000, something like that. It's like whoever could like drink. And it was, a regular bottle about that big or whatever. And he was just like, yo, I'll give, let's say 1,000. I'll get $1,000, whoever can finish the bottle. And we were all like, what? Like, who's gonna drink it? And so one of our teammates was like, well, if a bunch of us get like finish it, where you like just split it? He was like, yeah, I'll split it with y'all. So I think like 3 of them. I want to find, was it a snake? I gotta find out what that thing. Maybe it was a scorpion. Because we were at, and the funny thing is, we were at the gym like Monday or something like no, recently, within the past week, and he mentioned this because he's like, yo, I need to stop drinking that wild shit. And the dudes, they would just taking turns, like they were taking pouring shots and drinking out the bottle, going back and forth, and they finished the whole bottle. And after that, Derek Lewis was nowhere to be found. He dipped out so quick because after they finished, because he was sitting next to me, and after they finished, I remember looking like, damn, Derek about to pay it. Wait, where'd Derek go? And it was right at the time everybody's starting to leave anyway. So I'm like, all right, I'm about to be out. And as I'm going out, as I get out the front door going to the car, Derek is probably like 30 yards ahead of me. And I was like, oh shit, he dipped out quick. So that was that was, like I said, that was like a year or so ago. That was a good time. So that was my favorite. Derek Lewis dipping. He sell people, he gonna give them like some money to drink some crazy liquor infused with like reptiles and shit, and then he dipped out. That was that other story, but that was the one that comes to mind. That was the most recent one. That's my guy, man. I love him. He's funny.
And I don't want to take up too much more of your time. This has been one of my favorite interviews with all the stories. But I mean, just final question. Mike Jackson versus Pete Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Give me your official prediction.
Dude, I take nothing away from Pete and his abilities and what he's done, but there's levels to this, man. There's skills that, and I know people, he's only like 2-1, blah, blah, blah. I have a particular set of skills I'm really good at. And I've been improving on them tremendously. And given the attributes that Pete possesses, I just don't feel he has the necessary skill set to beat me. I feel like I'm literally better everywhere. Better striking. I'm going to have the better grappling, endurance. I'm going to be bigger. I have the more experience. I just think it's just a solid matchup for me, and you know, all the way around. So I'm looking for second round finish. I always call second round because I'm from Houston. We like the slow loud bang. We just chop and screw. You know what I'm saying? So I think a second round knockout is going to be the way to go.
Fair enough. Mike Jackson, thank you so much for taking the time. Guys, Mike returns to the Octagon on October 15th when he takes on Pete Rodriguez. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time.
My man, appreciate you.